Hello to all fans of Naruto Lemon. I will post all Naruto Lemon Yaoi, Yuri, or Naruko Lemon stories only on the Boosty channel because Uncle YouTube condemns this. Therefore, I invite everyone who wants Naruto Lemon content to my Boosty channel. Good luck.
お前はどこまで見えている俺死に様か
Chapter 1, A Rift in Reality. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue across the village of Konohagakure. Naruto Uzumaki and his twin sister Naruko were on a mission that had taken them far from the familiar confines of their home. It was supposed to be a simple retrieval job, but nothing ever seemed simple when it came to the world of shinobi. The ancient ruin they were investigating lay hidden deep within the forest, cloaked in an aura of foreboding. The mission brief had mentioned an artifact of great power, but it had been vague on the details. As they approached the crumbling entrance, Naruko could feel an unsettling chill in the air. "Are you sure this is the right place, Naruto?" she asked, her voice tinged with apprehension. Her blue eyes scanned the overgrown structure, trying to make sense of the eerie silence that surrounded them. "Yeah, the intel said this was it," Naruto replied, his usual confidence tempered by a hint of uncertainty. He had always been eager for adventure, but the sense of wrongness about this place was hard to ignore. "Let's just be careful." The entrance was a large, stone archway, partially covered by vines and moss. As they stepped through, the temperature seemed to drop, and the light from the setting sun barely penetrated the gloom within. The air was thick with dust, and the sound of their footsteps echoed ominously. They moved deeper into the ruins, their senses heightened. The artifact they were seeking was reputed to be hidden within a central chamber, a place that legends claimed had the power to alter reality itself. They navigated through narrow corridors, their footsteps muffled by the ancient stone. After what felt like hours of exploration, they finally arrived at the heart of the ruin. The chamber was vast, its walls adorned with faded murals and strange symbols that seemed to pulse with a faint, otherworldly glow. In the center of the room stood a pedestal, upon which rested a peculiar artifact, an ornate, ancient box covered in intricate carvings. Naruto's eyes widened with excitement. "That's it. That must be the artifact." He moved towards it with an eagerness that was characteristic of him, despite the lingering sense of foreboding. Naruko followed closely, her gaze fixed on the box with a mix of curiosity and caution. Naruto reached the pedestal and examined the artifact closely. It was an elegant, rectangular box made of a material that seemed to shimmer in the dim light. The carvings on its surface were intricate, depicting scenes of battles, mythical creatures, and celestial bodies. He reached out to touch it, but Naruko's hand shot out to stop him. "Wait, Naruto," she warned. "We don't know what this thing does. It could be dangerous." Naruto hesitated, his hand hovering just above the box. He looked at Naruko, whose concern was evident. "You're right. Let's check it out first. We should make sure it's safe before we do anything." The siblings took a step back and began to examine the room more thoroughly, looking for clues about the artifact's nature and purpose. They found nothing immediately useful, but the sense of unease grew stronger. As they prepared to leave the chamber and report back to their superiors, Naruto's curiosity got the better of him. He moved closer to the box again, his fingers brushing against the carvings. Suddenly, the box began to hum, and the symbols on its surface started to glow with a bright, pulsating light. Naruko's eyes widened in alarm. "Naruto, get away from it." Before Naruto could react, the box emitted a blinding flash of light that enveloped the entire chamber. The ground beneath them seemed to shift and warp, and the world around them began to distort. Naruto and Naruko were thrown off their feet as the chamber spun and twisted, the light growing ever more intense. They reached out for each other, but their hands slipped apart as the force of the disturbance separated them. The walls, floor, and ceiling of the ruin seemed to dissolve into a swirling vortex of light and shadow. In a matter of moments, the world they knew was replaced by an entirely different landscape. The swirling light faded, revealing a new, unfamiliar world. Naruto and Naruko found themselves lying on the ground, disoriented and bewildered. The sun was setting in this strange world as well, but the sky was painted with shades of purple and orange that were alien to them. Naruto scrambled to his feet, looking around in disbelief. The terrain was vastly different from the dense forest they had been in. Instead, they were surrounded by an open, barren landscape with towering rock formations and strange, glowing plants. The air felt different, thicker, and more charged with an unusual energy. "Where are we?" Naruko asked, her voice filled with confusion and fear as she stood beside Naruto. "I don't know," Naruto replied, his eyes scanning the strange environment. "But we need to figure it out and find a way back." As they began to explore their new surroundings, they noticed that the landscape was eerily silent, save for the occasional distant rumble that seemed to shake the ground. The ground was uneven, with large fissures and strange formations that looked like they were from another world entirely. Their initial exploration revealed that the geography was different from anything they had seen before. The sky was filled with unfamiliar constellations, and the stars seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly brilliance. The siblings felt an overwhelming sense of being out of place, as if they had stepped into a world that was both familiar and alien at the same time. Naruto and Naruko eventually came across a small settlement nestled between two large rock formations. The buildings were constructed from materials that glowed softly, and the people they saw were unlike anyone they had ever encountered. They wore clothing that seemed to combine elements of traditional and futuristic designs, and their eyes glowed with a subtle, ethereal light. "We need to be careful," Naruko said, her voice low. "We don't know if these people are friendly or not." Naruto nodded in agreement. They approached the settlement cautiously, hoping to find someone who could provide them with information about their current situation. As they entered the settlement, they were greeted by curious stares from the inhabitants. The air was filled with a strange, melodic hum that seemed to resonate with the environment. A figure emerged from the crowd, a tall, elegant individual with flowing robes and a serene expression. The figure's eyes met Naruto and Naruko's, and a sense of calm washed over them. The figure spoke in a language they didn't understand, but the tone was soothing and reassuring. Naruko tried to communicate using basic gestures, and the figure responded with a series of hand signs and gestures that seemed to convey a sense of welcome. The inhabitants of the settlement began to approach, offering them food and drink that looked exotic but smelled inviting. As they accepted the hospitality, Naruto and Naruko realized that they had entered a world that was both wondrous and mysterious. The people of this world seemed to possess abilities and knowledge far beyond anything they had encountered before. They were introduced to a leader who spoke a language that Naruto and Naruko could partially understand through a translator device. The leader explained that their arrival had been foretold in ancient prophecies and that their presence was a significant event. The artifact they had encountered was an ancient relic of immense power, and its activation had caused a ripple through the fabric of reality, bringing them to this parallel world. Naruto and Naruko listened in awe as the leader spoke of a great danger that threatened this world, a force that sought to harness the artifact's power for its own dark purposes. They were informed that their arrival had been seen as a sign that they were destined to play a crucial role in the struggle to protect this world and restore balance. As the sun set and the stars began to fill the sky, Naruto and Naruko realized that their mission had taken a turn they could never have anticipated. They were now in a parallel world, facing challenges and dangers they had never imagined. But they were determined to find a way back home and fulfill their new role in this strange and wondrous world. The night was filled with a sense of anticipation and uncertainty as they prepared to embark on a journey that would test their strength, resolve, and the bond they shared as siblings. Chapter 2, A New World. Naruto and Naruko lay on the ground, disoriented by the strange sensations of their sudden transport. The vivid light that had enveloped them was now fading, leaving behind a landscape that was as unfamiliar as it was disconcerting. The ground beneath them was a dark, almost metallic surface that seemed to shimmer faintly in the twilight. The sky overhead was an array of purples and oranges, streaked with clouds that glowed with an eerie luminescence. Naruto was the first to recover his senses. He pushed himself up, brushing the dust and debris from his clothes. Naruko. Are you okay? He called out, his voice tinged with both concern and excitement. Naruko groaned as she sat up, rubbing her temples. Yeah, I'm fine. Just a bit dizzy. What happened? Where are we? Naruto's gaze swept over their surroundings. The terrain was barren, with twisted, alien vegetation and jagged rock formations jutting out from the ground. In the distance, strange structures loomed, buildings that looked both familiar and foreign. They bore a resemblance to the architecture of their own world but were marked by bizarre alterations and a darker, more sinister design. We're definitely not in Konoha anymore, Naruto said, trying to make sense of their new environment. This place feels off. Naruko nodded, her eyes scanning the horizon. We need to figure out where we are and how to get back. But first, we should be cautious. We have no idea if this world is dangerous. The siblings set off, carefully navigating the uneven terrain. As they approached one of the nearby structures, they noticed that the buildings were made from an unfamiliar, dark stone that absorbed the light rather than reflecting it. The air was thick with a strange, metallic scent, and the atmosphere was tense, as if the very environment was aware of their presence. They entered one of the structures, a large, dome-shaped building with no apparent windows. Inside, the walls were adorned with intricate symbols and patterns that glowed faintly in the dim light. The air was cool and dry, and the silence was almost oppressive. Looks like some kind of ceremonial chamber, Naruto observed, running his fingers over the carvings. These symbols, they look like they could be important. Naruko approached a pedestal in the center of the room, similar to the one in the ruin they had left behind. On it rested a crystal orb, suspended in midair by a shimmering force field. The orb emitted a soft, pulsating glow, and its surface seemed to ripple with strange, shifting colors. That orb looks like it might be connected to the artifact we found, Naruko said, her voice filled with curiosity. Maybe it can give us some answers. Naruto nodded and reached out to touch the orb. As his fingers brushed its surface, the orb flared brightly, and a holographic image appeared before them. The image showed a map of the world, with their current location marked in a dark, pulsating red. The map was marked with various symbols and notations that Naruto and Naruko couldn't immediately decipher. However, one thing was clear, their location was in the midst of a large, sprawling city that seemed to cover much of the surrounding land. This city must be the center of this world, Naruto said, examining the map closely. If we're going to find out what's going on, we should start there. Naruko agreed. We need to find out who lives here and what kind of world we're dealing with. Let's head to the city and see if we can get any information. As they made their way toward the city, the landscape continued to change. The rocky, barren terrain gradually gave way to more urban features, buildings, roads, and strange vehicles that floated above the ground, emitting a low hum as they moved. The city itself was a sprawling metropolis, with towering skyscrapers that reached up into the misty sky. The buildings were adorned with neon lights and strange symbols, casting an eerie glow over the streets below. The architecture was a blend of familiar and alien elements, with traditional Japanese-style structures juxtaposed against futuristic designs. Naruto and Naruko navigated the crowded streets, trying to blend in with the local population. The people around them were diverse, with a mix of human and non-human residents. Some were dressed in clothing similar to what they were accustomed to, while others wore elaborate costumes and armor that hinted at a blend of technology and magic. They noticed that the city was divided into several distinct districts, each with its own unique characteristics. One district was filled with bustling markets and colorful stalls, while another was dominated by towering skyscrapers and high-tech facilities. As they wandered through the city, they overheard snippets of conversation that hinted at the political and social climate of this world. It became clear that this world was in a state of turmoil, with various factions vying for control and power. In one of the markets, Naruto and Naruko overheard a conversation between two merchants discussing recent disturbances in the city. They mentioned an organization called the Eclipse Syndicate, which was rumored to be involved in dark rituals and attempts to merge different realities. This Eclipse Syndicate sounds like it could be behind the artifact's power, Naruko said, her brow furrowed in thought. We should find out more about them. Naruto nodded. Let's try to gather as much information as we can. Maybe we can find someone who knows more about the syndicate and their plans. They continued their search, visiting various locations and speaking with locals. Eventually, they came across a small, hidden cafe tucked away in a quiet alley. The cafe was a cozy, dimly lit place that seemed to offer a refuge from the chaos of the city. Inside, they found a man sitting alone at a corner table, reading a newspaper. He had an air of quiet authority about him and seemed to be deep in thought. Naruto and Naruko approached him, hoping he might have some useful information. Excuse me, Naruto said, trying to sound casual. We're looking for information about the Eclipse Syndicate. Do you know anything about them? The man looked up from his newspaper, his eyes narrowing with interest. The Eclipse Syndicate, you say? Not many people dare to speak of them openly. What makes you interested in such dangerous matters? Naruko stepped forward. We're from another world, and we believe the syndicate might be connected to the artifact that brought us here. We need to understand their plans to find a way back. The man's expression shifted from curiosity to concern. I see. Well, if you're truly seeking to understand the syndicate, you must be prepared for the truth. They are a shadowy organization that operates from the shadows, manipulating events for their own gain. Their ultimate goal is to merge this world with others, creating a new reality where they hold absolute power. Naruto and Naruko exchanged worried glances. That sounds exactly like what we're dealing with, Naruto said. Do you have any leads on where we can find them or how to stop their plans? The man leaned in, lowering his voice. There is a secretive group within the syndicate known as the Shadow Council. They are the ones who truly control the organization and its operations. If you wish to confront them, you'll need to infiltrate their ranks and uncover their hidden base. He handed them a small, encrypted device. This will help you access restricted areas of the city and gather information. Be careful, though. The syndicate is ruthless and will not hesitate to eliminate anyone who poses a threat to their plans. Naruto and Naruko thanked the man and left the cafe, their minds racing with the new information. They knew their journey was far from over and that the challenges ahead would be formidable. But they were determined to uncover the truth, stop the Eclipse Syndicate, and find a way back to their own world. As they made their way back to their temporary lodgings, the weight of their mission settled heavily on their shoulders. The city around them was alive with activity. But beneath the surface, there was a palpable sense of tension and unease. The parallel world they had entered was a place of shadows and secrets, and their quest for answers had only just begun. Chapter 3: Allies and Enemies. The sun had long set by the time Naruto and Naruko reached the heart of the city. The neon lights cast a strange, flickering glow on the streets, creating a surreal atmosphere. The city's towering skyscrapers loomed overhead, their dark silhouettes cutting sharp lines against the night sky. The air was filled with a low, mechanical hum, and the streets were bustling with a mix of human and non-human inhabitants. As the siblings navigated through the crowded streets, they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. The unfamiliar sights and sounds of the city were disorienting, but they had a mission: to find information and possibly allies who could help them understand this world and its dynamics. They headed toward a large, illuminated plaza at the center of the city. The plaza was surrounded by enormous digital billboards that displayed a constant stream of advertisements and news updates in an array of languages and symbols. People of various species and appearances moved about, engaged in their own activities. Naruto, with his characteristic enthusiasm, tried to strike up conversations with several passers-by, but the language barriers and cultural differences made it difficult to gather useful information. He and Naruko had to rely on their instincts and the bits and pieces they picked up from observing the locals. It wasn't long before they stumbled upon a small, nondescript building tucked away in a narrow alley. The sign above the door was written in a script they couldn't understand, but the faint light from inside and the presence of a few patrons at the entrance suggested it was a place where information might be gathered. Naruko led the way as they entered, her senses on high alert. The interior of the building was dimly lit, with a bar along one side and a few tables scattered about. The patrons, a mix of humans and other strange beings, were engaged in quiet conversation. At the far end of the bar sat a man with a rugged appearance, wearing a long, dark coat and a pair of dark goggles that obscured his eyes. He exuded an air of mystery, and his presence seemed to command respect from those around him. Naruto, ever curious, nudged Naruko and whispered, "That guy looks like he might know something. Let's talk to him." Naruko nodded in agreement, and they approached the man. As they neared, the man's gaze shifted toward them, and he seemed to appraise them with a knowing look. "Can I help you?" the man asked, his voice gravelly and deep. Naruto leaned in, trying to sound as casual as possible. "We're new around here. We're looking for information about this world and the artifact we found." The man raised an eyebrow. "You're not from around here, are you? I can tell you're not one of the locals." Naruko took over. "We're from another world. We accidentally triggered an artifact that brought us here. We need to find out more about this place and how to get back." The man studied them for a moment, then leaned back in his chair. "You're not the first to find yourselves in this predicament. This city, Noxus, is a place where many worlds converge. Artifacts like the one you found have a way of causing trouble." Naruto's eyes widened. "So, you know about the artifact?" The man nodded. "I know a few things. The artifact you found is one of several ancient relics that have the power to bridge different worlds. It's dangerous, and those who seek to control it often have their own agendas." Naruko's expression hardened. "Do you know who might be after it? We need to understand who we're dealing with." The man's expression grew more serious. "There's a faction in this city known as the Shadow Syndicate. They're a powerful group that controls much of the underworld and have been known to seek out such artifacts for their own gain. They're not to be taken lightly." Naruto and Naruko exchanged glances. This was not the news they had hoped for, but it was a lead they couldn't ignore. "Where can we find this Shadow Syndicate?" Naruto asked. "We need to know more about them." The man hesitated, then slid a small, encrypted data chip across the table. "This contains information about the syndicate's operations and contacts. Use it wisely. They have eyes everywhere, and crossing them could be dangerous." Naruko picked up the chip and nodded. "Thank you for your help. We'll be careful." As they left the bar, the siblings felt the weight of the information they had just received. The Shadow Syndicate was a formidable opponent, and finding themselves in a parallel world where such groups operated added a layer of complexity to their mission. They decided to head back to their temporary lodgings to review the data chip and plan their next steps. The city's nightlife was in full swing, and they moved through the bustling streets with a heightened sense of vigilance. Back at their lodgings, Naruto inserted the data chip into a portable terminal they had managed to procure earlier. The screen flickered to life, displaying a series of files and documents related to the Shadow Syndicate. Naruko began scrolling through the information, her eyes narrowing as she read through reports and dossiers on the syndicate's activities. The documents detailed various illegal operations, including smuggling, extortion, and a number of incidents involving otherworldly artifacts. "There's a lot here," Naruko said, her voice tinged with frustration. "But it looks like the syndicate is deeply involved in controlling the flow of artifacts between worlds. We need to find a way to stop them and figure out how to use the artifact to get back home." Naruto nodded in agreement. "We'll have to be smart about this. If the syndicate is as powerful as they seem, we need allies who can help us." Their next step was clear: they needed to seek out allies within the city who could provide additional support and information. The Shadow Syndicate would not be easy to confront, but with the right allies, they might stand a chance. As they made plans for the next day, Naruto and Naruko couldn't shake the feeling that their journey had only just begun. The city of Noxus was a labyrinth of intrigue and danger, and their quest to return home would require them to navigate a complex web of alliances and enmities. Little did they know, Their actions would soon draw the attention of those both powerful and perilous, setting the stage for a series of events that would challenge their resolve and test their strength in ways they had never imagined. Chapter 4: Unraveling the Mystery. The neon lights of Noxus City faded into the distance as Naruto and Naruko made their way to their temporary base, a dilapidated warehouse on the outskirts of town. The place had been a lucky find, hidden away from prying eyes. Inside, they began to delve into the data chip they had received from the mysterious informant. Naruto, with his usual energy, had already set up a makeshift workstation using the equipment they had scavenged. Naruko, meanwhile, was examining the encrypted data chip closely, her brow furrowed in concentration. The chip had a complex locking mechanism, and decrypting it would require time and skill. "We need to figure out what's on this chip," Naruko said, her fingers dancing over a portable decryptor. "It could contain crucial information about the artifact and how we can return home." Naruto glanced around the warehouse. "While you work on that, I'll see if I can find anything useful around here. We might need more supplies." Naruko nodded, her focus remaining on the chip. The decryptor's screen flickered and hummed as it worked through the encryption. Naruto set off to explore the warehouse, his senses alert for any potential threats. As Naruto rummaged through boxes and crates, he found a variety of items, old tools, pieces of machinery, and even some scraps of metal. Among these, he discovered a small hidden compartment in the floor, which revealed a stash of supplies, food rations, water bottles, and a few maps of the city. When Naruto returned to the workstation, he placed the supplies on a table and found Naruko deep in thought, her eyes focused on the screen. The decryptor emitted a final beep, and the chip's contents began to unfold. The screen displayed a series of documents, maps, and images related to the Shadow Syndicate. The information detailed their operations, their power structure, and their interest in ancient artifacts. It also contained a map showing various locations of interest in the city, including hidden facilities and key players in the syndicate. Naruko pointed to one of the documents. According to this, the Shadow Syndicate has a secret research facility located in the lower levels of the city. They're likely studying the artifacts and their potential to merge worlds. Naruto leaned in, his eyes scanning the map. "That's where we need to go. If we can find that facility, we might learn more about how to deal with the artifact and who's behind its misuse." Naruko nodded in agreement. "We should prepare ourselves for any potential dangers. The syndicate won't take kindly to intruders." With a plan in mind, they gathered their supplies and set out toward the lower levels of the city. The journey took them through a series of winding alleys and narrow passages, far removed from the bustling center of Noxus. The deeper they went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. The lower levels were a stark contrast to the city's vibrant upper districts. The air was thick with grime and the streets were dimly lit by flickering lights. The buildings were old and worn, their facades crumbling. The area was eerily quiet, with only the distant sounds of machinery echoing through the alleys. Naruto and Naruko moved cautiously, their senses heightened. They used the maps from the data chip to navigate through the maze of streets, avoiding patrolling guards and surveillance systems. Their path led them to a heavily guarded facility, an imposing structure with reinforced walls and a high-tech security system. They found a secluded spot where they could observe the facility from a distance. The place was surrounded by a tall fence with barbed wire, and surveillance cameras were mounted on the corners, constantly scanning the perimeter. Naruto pulled out a pair of binoculars and scanned the area. "Looks like getting in won't be easy. We'll need to find a way past the security." Naruko examined the facility's layout on the map. "There's a maintenance hatch on the side of the building. It might be less guarded and could provide a way inside." With their plan set, Naruto and Naruko made their way to the maintenance hatch. They approached the facility's side, using the shadows to stay hidden from view. The hatch was secured with a complex lock, but Naruto's skills in stealth and infiltration came into play. He managed to pick the lock quietly, and they slipped inside. The interior of the facility was a stark contrast to the exterior. It was clean, sterile, and filled with advanced technology. They navigated through a series of corridors, following the directions from the map. The facility was a labyrinth of laboratories, control rooms, and storage areas. As they moved deeper, they came across a central research lab. Through a glass window, they saw a group of scientists and syndicate operatives working with various artifacts. The room was filled with intricate machinery and glowing devices. Naruko motioned for Naruto to stay silent as they observed. "That's where we need to be. If we can get close to the research equipment, we might find more information about the artifact." They waited for the right moment to make their move. When the room was momentarily cleared of guards and scientists, they slipped in and began to examine the equipment. The research lab was filled with documents, devices, and artifacts, all of which could hold valuable information. Naruto approached a console and began to access the data stored on it. "This is it. We need to find out everything we can about the artifact and how it's connected to the syndicate's plans." Naruko checked the surrounding documents and found a detailed report on the artifact. It explained that the artifact was not only a key to merging worlds, but also a source of immense power. The syndicate's goal was to harness this power to control both worlds. "This confirms what we feared," Naruko said, her voice low. "The syndicate plans to use the artifact to merge our world with theirs, likely to conquer both." Naruto clenched his fists. "We can't let that happen. We need to find a way to stop them and get back to our world before it's too late." As they continued to gather information, they heard footsteps approaching. They had to act quickly. They gathered as much data as they could carry and prepared to leave the facility. Their escape was tense. They retraced their steps through the corridors, avoiding detection as they made their way back to the maintenance hatch. Once outside, they made their way back through the labyrinthine streets of Noxus. The city's dark alleys and narrow passages provided cover as they returned to their temporary base. The information they had gathered was crucial, but they knew that the real challenge lay ahead. They needed to find a way to stop the syndicate's plans and ensure the safety of both worlds. Back at the warehouse, they reviewed the data and formulated a plan. The Shadow Syndicate's operation was more complex than they had anticipated, and their next steps would be critical in their fight to save their world and prevent the merging of realities. As Naruto and Naruko prepared for the challenges ahead, they knew that the fate of their world, and the parallel world, hung in the balance. They were determined to see their mission through, no matter the cost. Chapter 5: The Echoes of War. The dim light of the early morning filtered through the broken windows of the warehouse as Naruto and Naruko prepared for their next step. The facility they had infiltrated was filled with tantalizing clues, but now they had to venture out into the unknown. They needed to understand the nature of the Great War that had devastated this parallel world and how it might relate to their own predicament. Their journey took them to the outskirts of Noxus City, to a place marked on the map they had recovered. The area was desolate, marked by the scars of past battles. Abandoned buildings and wreckage littered the streets, a stark contrast to the bustling city center they had seen. Naruto and Naruko carefully made their way through the ruins, their senses alert. The once vibrant city had been reduced to a wasteland, and every corner seemed to hold memories of conflict and sorrow. The air was thick with dust, and the silence was punctuated only by the distant clatter of debris. As they approached the site indicated on the map, they found themselves in a partially destroyed memorial park. The remnants of statues and plaques hinted at a place once meant to honor fallen heroes. Now, it stood as a testament to the destruction that had swept through the land. Naruko paused, her eyes scanning the area. "This place feels heavy with history. I can sense that something significant happened here." Naruto nodded, his gaze drawn to a large monument in the center of the park. The monument was shattered, but its base was still intact. Intrigued, they approached it and found inscriptions that, though partially erased, told a story of a devastating conflict that had ravaged the world. The inscriptions spoke of a war that had lasted for decades, a conflict between powerful factions vying for control over ancient relics and resources. The final battle had torn the land apart, leaving behind a scarred and fractured world. "We need to learn more about this war," Naruto said, examining the inscriptions. If we understand what happened here, we might find clues about the artifact and how to return to our world. Naruko agreed. Let's look for survivors or historical records. Someone might have information about the war's impact and the artifact's role. Their search led them to a nearby bunker, partially buried and hidden from view. The entrance was locked, but Naruto's skills in breaking and entering proved useful once again. They gained access to the bunker and found it filled with old documents, maps, and personal belongings. As they sifted through the documents, they discovered a series of journals and reports detailing the war's progression. The records painted a picture of a world on the brink of collapse, where factions fought not only for territory but for control over powerful artifacts that could alter reality itself. One journal, in particular, caught their attention. It belonged to a soldier who had witnessed the final stages of the conflict. His writings described the desperation of the survivors and the efforts to contain the destructive power of the artifacts. The journal mentioned a group of rebels who had tried to harness the artifacts for their own ends, leading to even greater devastation. Naruko read aloud from the journal. The final battle was catastrophic. The rebels succeeded in activating an artifact, causing a rift in reality. The explosion that followed shattered the land and triggered a chain reaction that altered the world's very fabric. Naruto's eyes widened. Could this rift be related to the artifact we encountered? It sounds like the same kind of energy. Naruko nodded thoughtfully. It's possible. The artifact we found might be a remnant of this event, or it could be connected to the rebels' attempts to manipulate reality. Determined to learn more, they followed clues from the journal to a hidden archive within the bunker. The archive contained records of the rebels and their activities, including detailed maps of their operations and locations of interest. Among the documents, they found a file on a secret project known as the Eclipse Protocol. The project aimed to harness the power of the artifacts to create a new world order. It was led by a mysterious figure known only as the Shadow Master, who was believed to have been behind many of the atrocities during the war. This Shadow Master sounds like the entity we're dealing with, Naruto said, studying the file. If they're behind the Eclipse Protocol, they might have more information on how to reverse the damage caused by the rift. Naruko agreed. We need to find out more about the Shadow Master and the Eclipse Protocol. They might hold the key to both understanding this world's past and finding a way to return to our own. Their investigation led them to a network of underground tunnels, connected to the rebels' former stronghold. The tunnels were dark and treacherous, filled with traps and remnants of past battles. The siblings moved carefully, avoiding hazards and searching for any remaining records or clues. After hours of exploring, they reached a central chamber. The chamber was filled with old machinery and a central console that appeared to be connected to the Eclipse Protocol. The console was damaged, but still functional. Naruko examined the console, using her technical expertise to access the system. The console displayed various data logs and records, including information about the protocol's goals and its effects on the world. According to the logs, the Eclipse Protocol had caused massive shifts in reality, creating parallel worlds and altering the fabric of existence. The logs detailed experiments and tests conducted to control and stabilize these shifts, but they had ultimately led to catastrophic failures. Naruto's eyes narrowed as he read through the logs. This confirms that the artifact we found is part of the Eclipse Protocol. It was designed to manipulate reality and create new worlds. Naruko looked at him, her expression determined. If we can understand how the Eclipse Protocol works, we might find a way to reverse the damage and return to our world. With newfound resolve, Naruto and Naruko gathered as much information as they could from the console and the surrounding area. They knew that their next step was to confront the Shadow Master and uncover the true extent of their plans. As they left the underground tunnels, the weight of their discovery settled upon them. The war that had ravaged this world had left behind a legacy of destruction and chaos, but it also held the key to their return. Naruto and Naruko continued their journey through the parallel world, their determination to uncover the truth and find a way home stronger than ever. The echoes of war reverberated through their quest, guiding them toward the answers they sought and the challenges that lay ahead. Chapter 6, Fractured Bonds. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the shattered landscape. Naruto and Naruko had traveled far from the ruins of Noxus City, their quest to understand the past leading them to a secluded village nestled in a valley. The village had once been a haven of peace, but now bore the scars of the Great War. The air was thick with a sense of melancholy. Naruto and Naruko approached the village cautiously, aware that any interaction with the locals could be fraught with tension. The villagers were wary of outsiders, their faces etched with distrust and sorrow. The siblings could sense the deep-rooted pain that lingered in the community. They found their way to the village elder, an elderly man named Haruto. He was a tall figure with a stoic expression, his eyes reflecting the weight of many years. Haruto listened intently as Naruto and Naruko explained their purpose, the desire to learn more about the war and its impact. Haruto led them to a small, dimly lit room within the village's communal hall. Inside, the walls were lined with maps, photographs, and relics from the past. The air was filled with a palpable sadness as Haruto began to recount the history of the war. This village was once a beacon of hope, Haruto began, his voice heavy with emotion. We were a sanctuary for those displaced by the conflict. But as the war progressed, even our haven could not escape the devastation. He spoke of the Great War that had engulfed their world, a conflict that had begun with the discovery of ancient artifacts. These relics, imbued with immense power, had become the focal point of the struggle. The factions fought for control, each seeking to wield the artifacts to reshape the world according to their vision. Naruko, her gaze fixed on the maps, asked, were there any efforts to end the conflict or prevent the artifacts from falling into the wrong hands? Haruto nodded. There were many who tried. We formed alliances, attempted negotiations, but the war had a life of its own. The rebels, led by the Shadow Master, were particularly ruthless. Their aim was not just to win the war, but to harness the artifacts to create a new world order. Naruto's fists clenched at his sides. The Shadow Master sounds like a serious threat. What happened in the final stages of the war? Haruto sighed deeply. The rebels' final gambit was the Eclipse Protocol. They believed they could use the artifacts to merge worlds, creating a new reality where they would hold absolute power. The result was catastrophic. The protocol caused a massive rift in reality, leading to the destruction you see around you. The room fell silent as the weight of Haruto's words sank in. Naruto and Naruko exchanged glances, realizing that the artifact they had encountered might be connected to the Eclipse Protocol. They needed to learn more about this mysterious figure and the remnants of their plans. Haruto continued, after the rift, the land was fractured, and many of the artifacts were lost or scattered. Some remnants of the Eclipse Protocol remain, hidden away, their power still dangerous. The Shadow Master vanished, but rumors persist that they are still out there, seeking to complete their vision. Naruko's expression hardened. We need to find out more about these remnants and the Shadow Master. If they're still trying to merge worlds, they could be a serious threat to both this world and ours. Haruto agreed. I can guide you to a location where some of the remaining artifacts were stored. It is a dangerous place, but it may hold the answers you seek. The siblings prepared for their journey, gathering supplies and information from the village. They left the village with a heavy heart, their mission now clear, to uncover the remnants of the Eclipse Protocol and learn more about the Shadow Master's plans. Their path took them to an ancient fortress hidden in the mountains, a place that had been abandoned since the war. The fortress was a formidable structure, its walls covered in moss and ivy, and its entrance concealed by a dense thicket. As they approached the fortress, Naruto and Naruko felt a sense of foreboding. The air around them seemed charged with an unsettling energy. They pushed through the overgrown vegetation and made their way inside, the darkness enveloping them as they crossed the threshold. The interior of the fortress was as imposing as the exterior. The halls were lined with old weapons and relics, the remnants of a bygone era. The siblings navigated the labyrinthine corridors, their senses heightened as they searched for any clues or artifacts that could shed light on the Eclipse Protocol. They eventually stumbled upon a large chamber filled with old tomes and scrolls. The chamber was littered with broken furniture and debris, but amidst the chaos, they found a series of documents that seemed to be related to the Eclipse Protocol. Naruto carefully examined the documents, his brow furrowed in concentration. These records detail the experiments conducted by the rebels. They were trying to manipulate reality, but it looks like they faced numerous failures and setbacks. Naruko's gaze was drawn to a peculiar symbol on one of the scrolls. This symbol, it matches the one on the artifact we found. It could be a key to understanding how the artifacts work and how they were intended to merge worlds. Their investigation was interrupted by a sudden noise. They spun around to find themselves face to face with a group of masked figures emerging from the shadows. The figures wore dark robes and carried an aura of menace. One of the figures stepped forward, their voice distorted by a mask. Intruders. You seek knowledge that should remain buried. Naruto and Naruko prepared for a confrontation. The figures attacked with swift, precise movements, their skills honed by years of conflict. The siblings fought back with determination, their combat abilities tested to their limits. The battle was fierce, the echoes of clashing steel and the crackle of chakra filling the chamber. Naruto and Naruko fought in perfect sync, their movements a testament to their bond and training. Despite their best efforts, the masked figures proved to be formidable opponents. As the battle reached its peak, Naruto noticed something unusual about their adversaries. They seemed to be using techniques and strategies reminiscent of their own world, suggesting that these figures might have a connection to their original realm. Finally, the last of the masked figures fell, their leader retreating into the shadows. The chamber fell silent once more, the remnants of the battle strewn across the floor. Naruko approached the documents, her eyes scanning the contents with renewed urgency. We need to decipher these records quickly. They might hold the key to stopping the Shadow Master and understanding the full extent of the Eclipse Protocol. Naruto nodded, his expression serious. We can't afford to waste any time. The more we learn about the Shadow Master's plans, the better prepared we'll be to confront them. As they worked to decipher the documents, the siblings realized that their journey was far from over. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but their resolve remained unwavering. They were determined to uncover the truth behind the Eclipse Protocol and to protect both their world and the parallel realm from the threat posed by the Shadow Master. The fortress, once a symbol of conflict, now became a beacon of hope as Naruto and Naruko delved deeper into the mysteries of the past. Their bond was tested by the challenges they faced, but they emerged stronger, more determined, and ready to confront whatever lay ahead. As they left the fortress behind and made their way back to the village, the weight of their mission hung heavily on their shoulders. They knew that the fate of both worlds rested on their ability to unravel the secrets of the Eclipse Protocol and to confront the Shadow Master. The journey ahead would be perilous, but Naruto and Naruko were prepared to face the challenges, their hearts united in their quest to protect the worlds they loved. Chapter 7: The Hidden Agenda. The dim light of dawn filtered through the shattered windows of the ancient fortress, casting long shadows across the debris-strewn floor. Naruto and Naruko stood amidst the ruins of what was once a place of power, their breaths visible in the cold air. They had spent the night poring over the relics they had found, trying to piece together the remnants of the Eclipse Protocol and its creator, the enigmatic Shadow Master. Naruto's face was etched with determination as he examined a large, dusty tome. There's got to be something here that explains how the Shadow Master planned to use the artifacts. If we understand that, we might find a way to stop them from merging our worlds. Naruko, seated cross-legged on the floor with several scrolls spread around her, nodded in agreement. These scrolls mention something about a ritual of convergence. It seems to be central to the Shadow Master's plan. If we can decipher what this ritual entails, we might be able to prevent it from happening. Hours passed as they worked, the fortress echoing with the sound of rustling papers and the occasional frustrated sigh. Just as they were about to give up, a sudden crash echoed through the fortress. The siblings sprang to their feet, eyes scanning the room for the source of the noise. From the shadows emerged a group of cloaked figures, their presence imposing and menacing. At their forefront was a tall figure cloaked in dark, flowing robes, their face obscured by a hood. The air around them crackled with dark energy, a sign of their formidable power. "Looks like we've been found," Naruto said, his voice tense. The cloaked figure stepped forward, revealing a pair of piercing eyes that glowed with a sinister light. "So, you are the intruders who have been meddling with forces beyond your understanding." Naruko stepped in front of Naruto, her stance defensive. "Who are you? What do you want?" The cloaked figure smiled coldly. "I am one of the Shadow Master's loyal lieutenants. We've been keeping an eye on the disruption caused by your arrival. You're too late, the final stage of the Eclipse Protocol is already in motion." Naruto's eyes narrowed. "We won't let you complete your plan. We'll stop you, no matter what." The lieutenant chuckled darkly. "You're welcome to try. But be warned, the forces we command are not to be underestimated. The ritual of convergence is nearly complete, and the power we seek is within our grasp." With that, the lieutenant raised a hand, and the cloaked figures began to channel dark energy. Naruto and Naruko braced themselves for battle, their determination unshaken despite the overwhelming odds. The clash was fierce. Naruto's Rasengan collided with the dark energy blasts of the enemy, while Naruko deftly used her kunai and shuriken to deflect attacks. The fortress seemed to come alive with the battle's fury, the walls shaking with each powerful strike. Despite their efforts, the Shadow Master's forces proved to be formidable opponents. They fought with a ruthless precision, each move calculated to wear down the siblings. Naruto and Naruko exchanged determined glances, their bond of siblinghood a source of strength as they fought side by side. The tide of battle seemed to turn in their favor as they pushed back the enemies, but just as they were about to gain the upper hand, the lieutenant unleashed a devastating attack that sent them crashing to the ground. Breathing heavily, Naruto and Naruko struggled to rise, their energy waning. The lieutenant approached them with a sinister smile. "You've fought valiantly, but it's futile. The ritual will be completed, and your world will be engulfed in darkness." Naruko glared up at the lieutenant, her resolve unbroken. "We'll find a way to stop it. We won't let you succeed." The lieutenant's expression darkened. "Very well. If you won't surrender, then you'll face the consequences." Just as the lieutenant was about to deliver the final blow, a loud explosion rocked the fortress. The remaining cloaked figures were thrown off balance, and a figure emerged from the smoke, wielding a large, ornate staff. The figure was revealed to be a woman with flowing silver hair and a calm, resolute expression. Her presence radiated an aura of immense power and authority. She stepped forward, her staff glowing with a bright light. "Enough," the woman commanded, her voice cutting through the chaos. "These intruders are under my protection." The lieutenant's eyes widened in recognition. "Lady Celeste. What are you doing here?" Lady Celeste, as the woman was identified, raised her staff. "I have been monitoring the situation closely. The Eclipse Protocol must not be allowed to succeed, and I will not let these two be harmed." The remaining cloaked figures hesitated, their dark energy faltering under Lady Celeste's formidable presence. The lieutenant, clearly unnerved, gave a reluctant nod. "Very well. We'll retreat for now. But remember, the ritual is nearly complete. You're running out of time." With that, the Shadow Master's forces withdrew, leaving Naruto and Naruko with Lady Celeste. The siblings, though exhausted and battered, managed to stand with her support. "Thank you for intervening," Naruto said, his voice filled with gratitude. Lady Celeste nodded. "You're welcome. My name is Lady Celeste, and I have been working to prevent the Shadow Master from achieving their goals. The ritual of convergence is indeed a serious threat, and we must act quickly to stop it." Naruko, still catching her breath, asked, "What can you tell us about the ritual? How can we stop it?" Lady Celeste glanced at the scattered relics and scrolls in the chamber. "The ritual requires 3 key components: the Heartstone, the Soul's Heart, and the Nexus Fragment. Each of these artifacts must be activated in a specific sequence to complete the convergence." She pointed to a map on the wall. The locations of these components are marked here. The Heartstone is hidden in the ruins of a temple, deep in the Forbidden Forest. The Soul's Heart is guarded by a powerful being in the Crystal Caverns. And the Nexus Fragment is held in a fortress atop Mount Celestia. Naruto and Naruko exchanged determined looks. "We'll find them," Naruto said. "We won't let the Shadow Master's plan succeed." Lady Celeste nodded approvingly. "Good. I will provide you with guidance and assistance as needed. Time is of the essence, so you must move quickly." The siblings prepared to set out on their new quest, their resolve strengthened by their encounter with Lady Celeste. They knew that the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but they were determined to stop the Shadow Master and save both worlds from impending doom. As they left the fortress, the sun was rising, casting a warm light over the landscape. Naruto and Naruko felt a renewed sense of purpose, their bond of siblinghood stronger than ever. The journey to stop the ritual had only just begun, and they were ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. Chapter 8, Allies in the Shadows. The ancient forest surrounding the hidden enclave was dense with mist and the dense, twisting branches of colossal trees. Here, the air was thick with enchantment, a relic of an era long forgotten. Naruto and Naruko had ventured into the heart of this mystical forest, guided by a cryptic map they had discovered within the shattered fortress. They moved cautiously through the underbrush, their senses heightened. The forest was eerily quiet, save for the occasional rustling of leaves and the distant calls of unseen creatures. The map had led them to this place, suggesting that it was here they might find allies who could aid them in their struggle against the Shadow Master and the looming threat of the Eclipse Protocol. "According to the map, we should be close," Naruko said, her eyes scanning their surroundings for any signs of the hidden enclave. Naruto nodded, his sharp blue eyes darting from shadow to shadow. "I hope this place is as real as the map says. We could really use some help right now." Suddenly, a faint, melodic hum reached their ears, blending harmoniously with the forest's natural sounds. It was soft but persistent, almost as if calling out to them. They followed the sound, pushing through a thicket until they emerged into a clearing bathed in a serene, otherworldly light. In the center of the clearing stood a large, ornate stone archway, entwined with vines and glowing with an ethereal light. The hum grew louder as they approached, and they could see a figure standing beneath the archway, bathed in its luminescence. The figure was a tall, elegant woman dressed in flowing robes of deep blue and silver. Her long hair cascaded down her back like a river of moonlight, and her eyes sparkled with a calm, knowing wisdom. She held a staff adorned with intricate carvings and a glowing gem at its tip. "Welcome," the woman's voice was warm and inviting, yet carried an air of authority. "I am Lady Celeste, guardian of the Enclave. I have been expecting you." Naruto and Naruko exchanged surprised glances, before Naruto stepped forward, his tone earnest. "You know who we are?" Lady Celeste nodded, her eyes reflecting the light of the archway. "I have seen your struggle and the disruption caused by your arrival. The Shadow Master's plans threaten not only this world but also yours. I have gathered those who are willing to fight against this threat." The siblings felt a surge of hope. "We need allies," Naruko said, her voice filled with determination. "Can you help us?" Lady Celeste smiled gently. "Indeed, I can. But first, you must prove yourselves worthy. The trials of the Enclave will test your resolve, courage, and unity. Only then will you gain the support you seek." With that, Lady Celeste led them through the archway and into the heart of the Enclave. The interior was a vast, open space filled with vibrant flora and glowing crystals. The air was charged with a magical energy that seemed to resonate with their very souls. They were greeted by a diverse group of individuals, each with their own unique abilities and backgrounds. Some were warriors, others mages, and a few were mystical beings of unknown origin. They looked at Naruto and Naruko with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Lady Celeste addressed the gathering. "These are the champions of the Enclave. They have pledged their lives to protect this world and fight against the Shadow Master's forces. Naruto and Naruko will undergo the trials to prove their worthiness. Naruto and Naruko stood tall, their resolve unwavering. The first trial was a test of strength and endurance. They faced a series of physical challenges that pushed them to their limits. From navigating treacherous terrain to engaging in combat with enchanted creatures, they fought with everything they had. Despite their exhaustion, they pressed on, driven by their determination to succeed. Their bond as siblings proved to be their greatest asset, as they worked seamlessly together, covering each other's weaknesses and capitalizing on each other's strengths. The second trial tested their resolve and courage. They were faced with illusions of their deepest fears and insecurities, crafted by the Enclave's magic to challenge their inner strength. They had to confront their doubts and emerge victorious over the visions that sought to undermine their confidence. Naruko faced visions of her failures and insecurities as a leader, while Naruto was haunted by the fear of being unable to protect his loved ones. Together, they faced these fears head-on, drawing strength from each other and their shared experiences. The final trial was a test of unity. They had to work with the Enclave's champions in a series of strategic battles against a simulated enemy force. The trials were designed to test their ability to collaborate with others and lead effectively. The battles were intense and required precise coordination and strategy. Naruto and Naruko had to adapt quickly, using their skills and knowledge to lead the team to victory. Their ability to unite the disparate members of the Enclave and inspire them played a crucial role in their success. At the end of the trials, Lady Celeste and the Enclave's champions gathered once more in the central clearing. Lady Celeste addressed the crowd with a solemn expression. Naruto and Naruko have proven themselves worthy. They have shown strength, courage, and unity in the face of overwhelming challenges. They will now be counted among our allies. The champions of the Enclave cheered, welcoming Naruto and Naruko into their ranks. Lady Celeste approached the siblings, her eyes filled with pride. You have earned our trust and our aid. We will provide you with the support you need to confront the Shadow Master and stop the Eclipse Protocol. With newfound allies and resources at their disposal, Naruto and Naruko prepared to face the impending conflict. The Enclave's champions would fight alongside them, bringing their unique skills and knowledge to the battle against the Shadow Master's forces. As they prepared for the next phase of their journey, Naruto and Naruko felt a renewed sense of purpose. The trials had tested their limits, but they had emerged stronger and more determined than ever. With the Enclave's support, they were ready to confront the darkness that threatened both their world and the parallel world they had come to care for. The path ahead was fraught with danger and uncertainty, but Naruto and Naruko knew they were not alone. Together with their new allies, they would face the challenges ahead with courage and resolve, determined to protect both worlds from the impending threat. Chapter 9: The Gathering Storm. The sun set over the parallel world, casting long shadows across a landscape that had been scarred by conflict and struggle. In the heart of the Enclave, the air was charged with anticipation and unease. Naruto and Naruko, alongside their new allies, gathered to prepare for the inevitable clash with the Shadow Master and his minions. The meeting took place in a grand hall within the Enclave citadel, a structure made of shimmering crystals and ancient stone. The walls were adorned with tapestries depicting various battles and heroes of old, their stories immortalized in vibrant colors and intricate designs. Lady Celeste stood at the head of the assembly, her presence commanding attention. Her eyes, though gentle, held a steely resolve. Around her were the leaders of the factions that had pledged their support, a brooding warrior named Draven, a cunning strategist called Seraphina, and an enigmatic mage known only as Ian. Each had their own reasons for opposing the Shadow Master, but they shared a common goal. Naruto and Naruko, standing side by side, felt the weight of their responsibility. They had faced many challenges, but this was different. The stakes were higher, and the consequences of failure were dire. Lady Celeste began the briefing, her voice echoing through the hall. The Shadow Master's plan is nearing its final phase. He aims to merge this world with yours, creating a chaotic amalgam where he will hold dominion over all. His forces are mobilizing, and his power grows stronger with each passing day. Draven, a tall man with a scar running down his cheek, leaned forward. Our scouts have reported increased activity near the Shadow Master's stronghold. We believe he is preparing for a large-scale offensive. Serafina, a slender woman with sharp features and a calculating gaze, added, we need to strike before he completes the merging ritual. If we wait, we risk facing him at the height of his power, which would be disastrous. Naruto nodded, his face set in determination. We'll need to coordinate our efforts carefully. If we're going to stand a chance, we need to be united and precise. Ian, cloaked in dark robes that seemed to shift and change with his movements, spoke up. The ritual that will merge the worlds is being conducted at an ancient site known as the Nexus. It is heavily guarded and protected by powerful enchantments. We will need to devise a plan to breach it and stop the ritual. Lady Celeste turned her gaze to Naruto and Naruko. You have proven yourselves in the trials. Now, you must lead the charge. Your knowledge of your own world and your experience will be invaluable in this fight. Naruko took a deep breath, feeling the gravity of the situation. We're ready. But we need to understand everything about the Nexus and the Shadow Master's forces. The more we know, the better prepared we'll be. Serafina stepped forward, unrolling a large map on the table. The map was detailed, showing the layout of the Nexus and the surrounding areas. It highlighted key locations, such as supply routes, guard stations, and potential points of entry. This is what we know, Serafina explained. The Nexus is located in the ruins of Arender, an ancient city that was once a center of magical learning. The Shadow Master's stronghold is situated in the heart of the ruins, protected by a barrier that can only be breached with a special key. Draven's voice was gruff. We'll need to gather more intelligence and secure the key before we can launch an assault. We'll split into teams to handle different objectives: infiltration, reconnaissance, and sabotage. Naruto's mind raced with strategies. I'll lead the infiltration team. We need to get inside the stronghold and disable any defenses before the main attack. Naruko nodded in agreement. I'll work with Serafina and Ian to gather intelligence and secure the key. We'll need to be quick and efficient. Ian's eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light. I'll use my abilities to cloak our movements and bypass any magical wards. We'll need to move under the cover of darkness to avoid detection. As the meeting progressed, the various teams were assigned their tasks. Naruto's team would focus on breaching the stronghold and disabling the Shadow Master's defenses. Naruko's team would work on gathering the necessary information and securing the key to the Nexus. The plan was set into motion with a sense of urgency. The allies of the Enclave prepared for the upcoming battle, gathering weapons, supplies, and magical artifacts. Naruto and Naruko took a moment to reflect on their journey and the challenges that lay ahead. As night fell, the teams moved into position. The air was thick with tension, and the shadows seemed to grow darker with every passing minute. Naruto and his team made their way toward the ruins of Arender, their path illuminated by the soft glow of the moon. The ruins were a desolate and foreboding place, with crumbling structures and ancient stonework that spoke of a once great civilization. The Nexus stood tall in the center, its dark spires reaching towards the sky like the fingers of a skeletal hand. Naruto's team approached the outer perimeter, using the cover of darkness to avoid detection. They encountered a series of magical wards and traps designed to keep intruders out. With Ian's guidance, they managed to bypass these obstacles, moving stealthily towards their objective. Naruko and her team, meanwhile, had infiltrated the nearby village that served as a supply base for the Shadow Master's forces. They gathered crucial information about the Shadow Master's plans and the location of the key. The village was a place of quiet fear, where the villagers lived under the shadow of the Shadow Master's rule. As dawn approached, both teams converged on their respective targets. Naruto's team breached the outer defenses of the stronghold, fighting their way through waves of Shadow Master's minions. They navigated the treacherous corridors and traps, determined to reach the heart of the stronghold. Naruko's team, after a series of tense encounters and narrow escapes, secured the key to the Nexus. They rendezvoused with Naruto's team, and together they prepared for the final assault. The time had come. The forces of the Enclave and their allies gathered for the assault on the Nexus. The skies darkened with the smoke of battle, and the air was filled with the clash of steel and the roar of magical energy. Naruto and Naruko led their respective teams into the heart of the Nexus. They faced the Shadow Master's elite guards and powerful enchantments with courage and skill. The battle was fierce, and the stakes were higher than ever. As they fought their way through the defenses, the reality of their situation became clear. The merging of the worlds was not just a distant threat, it was imminent. The Shadow Master's power was growing stronger with every passing moment. Naruto and Naruko fought side by side, their movements synchronized and precise. They used their skills and abilities to overcome the formidable challenges they faced. Their bond, forged through their trials and hardships, was their greatest strength. The final battle loomed on the horizon. The fate of both worlds rested on their shoulders. They pressed forward with unwavering determination, ready to face the ultimate challenge and put an end to the Shadow Master's dark plans. Chapter 10: A Clash of Worlds. The skies above the ruins of Arender were darkening, the air charged with an ominous energy. The once majestic city, now in ruins, was the final battleground where the fate of both worlds would be decided. The forces of the Enclave and their allies had gathered, preparing for the massive clash that would determine the future of their world and Naruto and Naruko's home. Naruto and Naruko stood at the forefront of the assembled armies, their eyes scanning the horizon for signs of the Shadow Master's forces. The battleground was a desolate expanse of crumbling stone and ancient magic, with the Nexus, a towering structure of arcane energy, looming in the distance. Lady Celeste, Draven, Seraphina, and Ian had each taken their places in the command tent, coordinating the final details of the assault. The tension was palpable, a blend of anticipation and fear. Each leader had their own strategy and goals, but the unity of purpose was evident. Naruto turned to Naruko, his face set with determination. "Are you ready for this?" Naruko nodded, her expression equally resolute. "We've come this far. We'll see this through to the end." The sound of war drums echoed through the ruins as the forces of good and evil prepared for the inevitable clash. The Shadow Master's minions, dark, twisted versions of creatures and warriors, emerged from the shadows, their eyes glowing with malevolent energy. Draven's voice boomed over the comms, rallying the troops. "This is it. We fight for our homes, our families, and our future. Hold the line and strike true." With a thunderous roar, the battle began. Naruto and Naruko led their respective teams into the fray, their movements synchronized as they fought through the ranks of the Shadow Master's forces. The clash of steel and the crackle of energy filled the air, a cacophony of war that echoed across the ruins. Naruto's team, consisting of skilled fighters and mages, charged forward, cutting through the enemy ranks with precision. His Rasengan, enhanced by the chaotic energy of the parallel world, tore through enemies with explosive force. Naruko, wielding her kunai and elemental jutsu, moved with fluid grace, her attacks creating ripples of energy that disrupted the enemy formations. The Shadow Master's forces were formidable, their strength amplified by dark magic. Each enemy was a challenge, but the heroes pressed on, their resolve unwavering. Naruto and Naruko fought with a sense of purpose, their movements a testament to their growth and unity. As the battle raged on, the sky above the Nexus crackled with dark energy. The Shadow Master's ritual was reaching its climax, the fusion of worlds imminent. The heroes needed to act quickly to prevent the completion of the ritual and secure victory. Naruto and his team breached the outer defenses of the Nexus, facing fierce resistance from the Shadow Master's elite guards. The air was thick with magical energy as Naruto and his allies fought through wave after wave of enemies, their determination driving them forward. Inside the Nexus, the Shadow Master stood at the center of the ritual, his form shrouded in a cloak of dark energy. His voice echoed with a sinister tone as he chanted the incantation, the energy around him swirling with destructive power. Seraphina, Ian, and the others fought to hold back the enemy reinforcements, their focus on buying time for Naruto and Naruko. The battle was a chaotic whirlwind of spells, blades, and raw power, each side struggling for dominance. Naruko and her team navigated through the maze-like corridors of the Nexus, their path illuminated by the flickering light of dark magic. They encountered various traps and barriers, but their combined skills allowed them to overcome each obstacle. Finally, they reached the inner chamber where the Shadow Master conducted his ritual. The scene before them was both awe-inspiring and terrifying. The Nexus was a swirling vortex of energy, with the Shadow Master at its heart, manipulating the forces to merge the worlds. Naruto and Naruko exchanged a glance, their determination clear. They knew this was the final confrontation, the moment that would decide the fate of both worlds. Naruto charged forward, his chakra blazing as he unleashed a powerful Rasengan at the Shadow Master. The dark energy clashed with the Rasengan, creating a shockwave that reverberated through the chamber. The Shadow Master's form wavered as he struggled to maintain control of the ritual. Naruko, focusing her energy, unleashed a series of precise strikes at the Nexus's core, aiming to disrupt the ritual's flow. Each attack caused the vortex to flicker and falter, but the Shadow Master's dark power fought back, trying to stabilize the merging process. The battle inside the Nexus was fierce, with Naruto and Naruko pushing themselves to their limits. The Shadow Master's dark magic lashed out, creating barriers and summoning minions to protect him. The heroes fought through the onslaught, their movements a blend of strategy and raw power. As the ritual neared completion, the energy in the Nexus intensified, threatening to overwhelm everything. Naruto and Naruko, their energy nearly depleted, knew they had to make one final push to stop the ritual and defeat the Shadow Master. With a surge of determination, Naruto unleashed his most powerful attack, a massive Rasengan infused with both his and Naruko's chakra. The attack collided with the Shadow Master, creating a blinding explosion of light and energy that tore through the chamber. The Shadow Master's scream echoed through the Nexus as he was engulfed by the explosion, his dark magic unraveling. The vortex of energy faltered, the merging of worlds coming to a halt. The Nexus began to collapse, the ritual's power dissipating. Naruto and Naruko, battered but determined, managed to escape the collapsing chamber. They regrouped with their allies, who had also managed to hold their ground against the enemy forces. The battle outside the Nexus continued, but the tide had turned. The Shadow Master's minions, disoriented by the disruption of the ritual, were pushed back. The forces of good rallied, their morale renewed by the sight of their heroes triumphing over the dark power. As the battle reached its climax, the forces of good pressed their advantage, driving the remaining enemies back and securing victory. The ruins of Arinder were left in a state of chaos, but the Shadow Master's threat had been neutralized. Naruto and Naruko, exhausted but victorious, stood amidst the aftermath of the battle. The Nexus lay in ruins, its dark power dissipated. The heroes had succeeded in their mission, but the cost of the conflict was evident in the scars left on the land and the people. Lady Celeste, Draven, Seraphina, and Ian approached Naruto and Naruko, their expressions a mix of relief and gratitude. The battle had been hard fought, but the world had been saved from the Shadow Master's dark plans. "You did it," Lady Celeste said, her voice filled with respect. "The threat has been eliminated, and the merging of worlds has been stopped." Naruto and Naruko nodded, their faces weary but determined. "We couldn't have done it without the help of our allies," Naruto said. "Thank you all for your support." Ian, his form returning to its normal appearance, nodded in agreement. "The battle may be over, but there is much work to be done. We must rebuild and heal the wounds left by this conflict." As the heroes began the process of rebuilding and recovery, Naruto and Naruko took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced incredible challenges, grown as individuals, and forged deep bonds with their allies. Their experiences had changed them, and they knew that their return to their own world would be a significant moment. The final chapter of their journey was drawing near, but the impact of their actions would resonate for years to come. The clash of worlds had been a trial of their strength, resolve, and unity, and they had emerged victorious. As the first light of dawn broke over the ruins of Arinder, Naruto and Naruko prepared for the final steps of their journey. The road ahead would be filled with farewells and reflections, but they were ready to face whatever came next. The world had been saved, and their adventure was coming to an end. The bonds they had forged and the lessons they had learned would shape their future, and they looked forward to returning home with a deeper understanding of themselves and their world. Chapter 11: The Artifact's Secrets. The Nexus thrummed with a low, ominous hum, its energy pulsating like the heartbeat of a living entity. Naruto and Naruko stood at the edge of the Nexus, their breaths visible in the cold, arid air. The battle had left them exhausted, yet their minds were sharp with the gravity of the situation. The artifact, now in their possession, held the key to both their worlds and their survival. In the aftermath of the intense confrontation, the survivors regrouped in the dimly lit command tent, its walls lined with ancient runes and arcane symbols. Lady Celeste, Draven, Seraphina, Ian, and other allies gathered around a central table, where the artifact, a crystalline orb encased in dark metal, was displayed. The orb glowed with an eerie light, casting long shadows across the tent. Naruto and Naruko approached the table, their expressions serious. "We need to understand what this artifact truly is," Naruto said, his voice resolute. "It's the key to everything that's happening." Lady Celeste nodded, her eyes reflecting the light from the artifact. The artifact's origins are shrouded in mystery. However, we have some clues that might help us unravel its secrets. We need to examine its properties and its connection to the worlds. Draven, leaning over the table, began to explain. "From our research, we know that this artifact was created in the ancient times by a powerful civilization. It was designed to manipulate space and time, but its full capabilities are unknown. It appears to be a bridge between worlds, but how it exactly functions is still a puzzle." Seraphina, her gaze fixed on the artifact, added, "The artifact has a unique resonance with the energy of the Nexus. If we can decode its patterns, we might be able to harness its power or understand how to neutralize it." Ian stepped forward, holding a set of ancient scrolls. "I found some old texts that might shed light on the artifact. They describe rituals and spells related to dimensional travel and energy manipulation. If we can translate these texts, we might find the answers we need." Naruto and Naruko exchanged determined looks. They knew that understanding the artifact was crucial for their mission and for returning to their world. They took their places at the table, ready to delve into the complex mystery that lay before them. The hours turned into days as the team worked tirelessly, deciphering ancient texts and performing experiments with the artifact. The Nexus's energy seemed to respond to their efforts, its glow shifting in rhythm with their progress. The group was deep in concentration, each member contributing their expertise to the task. One evening, as the sun set and the Nexus was bathed in twilight, Lady Celeste made a breakthrough. "I think I've found something," she announced, her voice tinged with excitement. "The artifact is not just a tool for merging worlds, it also has a consciousness of its own. It's influenced by the intentions and emotions of those who wield it." Naruto looked intrigued. "So, it's like it has a will of its own? How does that help us?" Lady Celeste continued, "Yes, exactly. If we can communicate with the artifact's consciousness, we might be able to negotiate or influence its behavior. It could provide us with the information we need or even assist us in controlling its power." Draven, who had been studying the artifact's structure, interjected, "We'll need to perform a ritual to establish contact. It requires a combination of magical energy and mental focus. It's risky, but it might be our best chance." Naruko nodded. "Let's do it. We don't have time to waste." The ritual was prepared with meticulous care. The team set up a circle of magical runes around the artifact, their intricate patterns glowing faintly. Each member took their place, channeling their energy into the ritual. Naruto and Naruko stood at the center, their hands resting on the artifact as they focused their thoughts. As the ritual commenced, the artifact's glow intensified, its light enveloping the entire tent. A soft, melodic hum resonated through the air, and the temperature around them began to fluctuate. The energy was palpable. and the artifact seemed to come alive with a rhythmic pulse. Naruto and Naruko concentrated, their minds reaching out to the artifact. They felt a presence, a sense of awareness that was both alien and familiar. The connection was tenuous, like a thread of thought connecting them to a vast, unknown consciousness. A voice, ethereal and distant, spoke through the artifact. "Who dares to commune with me?" Naruto responded, his voice steady. "We seek to understand the artifact and its purpose. We need to know how to use it to return to our world and stop the merging." The voice seemed to consider their request. The artifact is a nexus of power and intent. It reflects the desires of those who wield it. To control its power, one must align their will with its essence. Naruko added, "How can we align ourselves with its essence? What must we do?" The voice responded, "To align with the essence, you must first understand your own desires and intentions. The artifact can only be controlled by those who are in harmony with its purpose. To return to your world, you must focus on your true goal and demonstrate your commitment to that goal." Lady Celeste, listening intently, translated the message for the others. The artifact is not just a tool, it's a reflection of the user's will. We must focus on our goal and prove our dedication. The ritual continued, and the artifact's light began to shift, taking on a more harmonious tone. The energy seemed to respond positively to their focused intent, and the artifact's resonance grew stronger. After what felt like an eternity, the ritual concluded. The artifact's glow dimmed to a steady, calming light. The connection had been established, and the artifact's secrets were now partially revealed. Naruto and Naruko, exhausted but determined, gathered with the others to discuss their findings. "The artifact can be influenced by our intentions," Naruto said, summarizing their experience. "To use it to return to our world, we need to be clear about our goal and show our commitment." Draven nodded. "We also need to prepare for the next phase. The artifact's power is volatile, and we must ensure that it is used correctly to avoid further disruptions." Ian added, "We'll need to gather additional resources and allies. The final confrontation with the Shadow Master is imminent, and we must be ready." Lady Celeste looked at the artifact thoughtfully. "The artifact's power is immense, but it is also unpredictable. We must handle it with care and precision." The team set to work, their resolve strengthened by their newfound understanding of the artifact. They prepared for the final battle, knowing that their success depended on their ability to harness the artifact's power and their unwavering commitment to their goal. As the preparations continued, Naruto and Naruko took a moment to reflect on their journey. They had faced countless challenges and obstacles, but their determination and unity had brought them this far. The final confrontation loomed, and they were ready to face it head-on. The artifact's secrets had been revealed, and the path to their goal was clear. With their allies by their side and their resolve unshakable, Naruto and Naruko prepared for the ultimate battle that would determine the fate of both worlds. Chapter 12, The Final Stand. The sun set over the desolate landscape, casting an eerie orange glow across the horizon. The battle that had raged through the day had left scars upon the earth, craters, smoldering ruins, and the remnants of shattered defenses. In the distance, the shadow of the Citadel of Oblivion loomed, its dark spires piercing the sky like jagged teeth. Naruto and Naruko stood at the edge of the battlefield, their faces set with determination. They had just emerged from a grueling skirmish with the entity's forces, and the final confrontation loomed closer than ever. The artifact, now securely in their possession, pulsed rhythmically with an unsettling light, a constant reminder of the weight of their mission. Lady Celeste, Draven, Seraphina, and Ian had all regrouped at the command tent, their faces lined with exhaustion, but resolute. They had worked tirelessly to gather allies, prepare defenses, and strategize their final assault on the Citadel. Now, the time had come to put their plans into action. Naruto glanced at Naruko, who nodded in silent agreement. They understood the gravity of the moment. Their bond had been tested in ways they never imagined, but it had only grown stronger. They were ready. Draven approached, holding a map of the Citadel's layout. "The Citadel's defenses are formidable. The entity's minions are entrenched in every corner. Our best chance is to strike swiftly and decisively. Lady Celeste added, we have one chance to end this. If we don't neutralize the entity, it will merge both worlds, and the consequences will be catastrophic. We must be prepared for anything. The plan was set. Naruto and Naruko would lead a team to breach the Citadel's outer defenses, while Draven and Ian focused on disrupting the entity's power sources. Seraphina and Lady Celeste would provide magical support and protect their flank. As night fell, the air grew colder, and the first signs of an impending storm were visible. The wind howled, carrying with it the distant sounds of battle. The citadel loomed closer, its dark silhouette casting an ominous shadow over the land. The team moved stealthily through the darkness, their breaths misting in the cold air. The battlefield was eerily silent, the calm before the storm. They approached the citadel's outer walls, where massive iron gates stood, guarded by an array of formidable creatures and dark energy barriers. Naruto and Naruko led the charge, their chakra flaring as they prepared for the confrontation. Remember, our goal is to reach the inner sanctum, Naruto said, his voice firm. We can't let anything stand in our way. The battle erupted as they engaged the enemy forces. Naruto unleashed his Rasengan, the swirling sphere of energy tearing through the ranks of the entity's minions. Naruko followed with her own jutsu, creating a barrier of ice that slowed down the advancing enemies. The clash of steel and the explosion of chakra filled the air as their allies joined the fray. Despite their efforts, the defenses of the citadel were relentless. The entity had anticipated their attack and fortified its positions. The team pressed on, pushing through wave after wave of opposition. The night seemed endless as the battle waged on. Inside the citadel, the entity watched the conflict unfold with a malevolent grin. Its form was a swirling mass of shadow and energy, shifting and undulating as it observed the struggle. The entity's power was at its zenith, drawing strength from the chaos and despair it had sown. The inner sanctum of the citadel was a cavernous chamber filled with arcane machinery and dark runes. At its center stood a colossal crystal, pulsating with dark energy. The artifact, in its true form, was the source of the entity's power and its connection to both worlds. Naruto and Naruko, having fought their way through the citadel's defenses, finally reached the inner sanctum. Their arrival was met with a roar of fury from the entity. You dare to challenge me in my domain? It bellowed, its voice echoing through the chamber. Naruto and Naruko stood their ground, their eyes locked onto the entity. We're ending this, Naruto declared. This madness stops now. The entity's form shifted, and a series of dark tendrils extended from its core, lashing out at the intruders. Naruto and Naruko moved with practiced precision, dodging and countering the entity's attacks. Their combined strength was formidable, but the entity was a powerful adversary, drawing on the energy of the artifact to enhance its abilities. The battle within the sanctum was a fierce contest of wills and power. Naruto unleashed his most potent techniques, channeling his chakra into devastating attacks. Naruko utilized her ice abilities to create barriers and launch counteroffensives. The chamber reverberated with the clash of energies and the echoes of their struggle. In the midst of the battle, Lady Celeste and Seraphina performed a complex ritual, aiming to disrupt the artifact's connection to the entity. Their incantations filled the air with a shimmering light, weaving through the dark energies that pervaded the chamber. Ian and Draven focused on dismantling the artifact's power sources, their efforts critical in weakening the entity's hold. Their actions created surges of unstable energy, adding to the chaos of the conflict. As the battle reached its climax, Naruto and Naruko pressed their advantage. With a final, coordinated attack, they managed to breach the entity's defenses. The creature let out a deafening scream as its form began to unravel, its connection to the artifact faltering. The chamber was bathed in a blinding light as the artifact's power surged uncontrollably. Naruto and Naruko, exhausted but resolute, pressed on, channeling their chakra into a final, decisive strike. The combined force of their attack shattered the artifact, causing a cascade of energy that rippled through the citadel. The entity's form disintegrated, and the dark energies that had plagued the world began to dissipate. The citadel crumbled, its dark spires collapsing as the fabric of reality was restored. The storm outside raged with renewed intensity, the final echoes of the battle reverberating through the land. As dawn broke, the skies cleared, and the battlefield lay in ruins. The remnants of the citadel were smoldering ruins, a testament to the fierce struggle that had taken place. The survivors emerged from the wreckage, their faces etched with relief and exhaustion. Naruto and Naruko stood amidst the debris, their expressions a mix of triumph and sorrow. The cost of their victory was evident in the desolation around them, but the world was safe once more. They had faced the ultimate challenge and emerged victorious, their bond and resolve tested to the limit. The final stand had been a testament to their strength, courage, and the power of their shared purpose. As they surveyed the aftermath of the battle, they knew that their journey was far from over. The task of rebuilding and healing the world lay ahead, but for now, they could take solace in the knowledge that they had prevented a catastrophe and secured their place in the annals of history. The sun rose over the battlefield, casting its first light on a new era. The world had been saved, and Naruto and Naruko had emerged as heroes, their legacy forever etched into the fabric of both worlds. Chapter 13, The Cost of Return. The air crackled with tension as the aftermath of the final battle settled over the citadel. Naruto and Naruko, standing amidst the wreckage of their hard-fought victory, felt the weight of their choices pressing heavily upon them. The once ominous hum of the artifact had grown erratic, its pulsations growing weaker and more chaotic with each passing moment. The brothers knew that their next decisions could either restore their world or bind them forever to this parallel realm. The citadel's great hall was littered with debris, and the once menacing figure of the entity lay vanquished. The dark energy that had suffused the chamber was now dissipating, revealing the stark reality of their surroundings. The grand chamber, once a symbol of fear and darkness, was now a shadow of its former self, a place of shattered ambitions and fractured dreams. Naruto and Naruko approached the artifact, which still hovered at the center of the room. Its crystalline structure was now swirling with unpredictable energy, each pulse a reminder of the chaotic forces that had once controlled it. The artifact's power was unstable, reflecting the turmoil within both the parallel world and the siblings themselves. As they studied the artifact, Draven and Lady Celeste joined them, their faces etched with concern. Draven's usual calm demeanor was overshadowed by a look of anxiety. The artifact's instability is increasing. If we don't stabilize it soon, it might cause irreparable damage to both worlds. Lady Celeste nodded in agreement. We must act quickly. The artifact was the key to the entity's plan, and now its uncontrolled power could lead to catastrophic consequences. Naruto clenched his fists, his mind racing with the implications of their predicament. What are our options? We need to find a way to either safely harness its power or destroy it. Naruko's gaze remained fixed on the artifact. Her expression one of deep contemplation. There must be a way to use the artifact to return home. But we need to understand its nature first. What will it take to stabilize it? Ian, who had been silent for a while, finally spoke. I've studied ancient texts that describe similar artifacts. There are legends of such objects requiring a sacrifice to function properly. It's possible that the artifact's power is tied to a significant exchange, something where someone must be given up to restore balance. The gravity of Ian's words settled over the group like a shroud. The notion of sacrifice was not new to Naruto and Naruko, but the reality of making such a choice was a heavy burden. The idea of giving up something dear, or perhaps even themselves, was daunting. Naruto's mind flashed back to the encounters with their alternate selves, the struggles they faced, and the relationships they had built in this world. He looked at Naruko, seeing the same mix of resolve and uncertainty in her eyes. We have to make this choice together. Whatever the cost, we'll face it head-on. Naruko nodded, her determination mirroring his. We've come this far by relying on each other. We can't stop now. The team set to work analyzing the artifact, trying to determine how to stabilize it. Lady Celeste, Draven, and Ian worked on deciphering the ancient runes and magical inscriptions that adorned the artifact. Naruto and Naruko focused on understanding its core mechanics, trying to decipher the best way to harness its power. Hours turned into days as they labored tirelessly, the sense of urgency growing with each passing moment. The artifact's energy continued to fluctuate unpredictably, casting eerie shadows across the chamber. Exhaustion was setting in, but the team pushed through, driven by the knowledge that their world, and the parallel one, depended on their success. One night, as the storm outside howled with renewed ferocity, Draven approached the siblings with a grim expression. "I think we found a solution, but it requires a personal sacrifice. To stabilize the artifact and return to your world, one of you must willingly bond with it, sharing a part of your essence." Naruto and Naruko exchanged glances, their hearts heavy with the weight of the decision before them. The implications of such a sacrifice were profound. It meant that one of them might be left behind or forever changed in ways they could not fully predict. Lady Celeste stepped forward, her voice soft but resolute. "It's not just about the physical sacrifice. It's about the emotional and spiritual costs. The bond with the artifact will alter your very essence, and you must be prepared for the consequences." Naruto took a deep breath, his mind whirling with memories of their journey. He had always believed in the power of their bond, but this was a test beyond anything they had faced before. "Naruko, we need to make this decision together. Whatever happens, we must be ready to face it." Naruko placed a reassuring hand on Naruto's shoulder. "We've faced so much together. This is no different. If one of us has to make this sacrifice, we'll do it for the sake of our world and for the future we want to build." The siblings, with heavy hearts, began the preparations to perform the necessary ritual. The artifact's energy surged as they channeled their own chakra into it, a bright light enveloping them as the bond with the artifact was forged. The process was both physically and emotionally taxing, but their determination kept them going. As the ritual concluded, the artifact stabilized, its energy now flowing in a steady rhythm. The path home was now clear, but the cost had been paid. The siblings were forever changed, their connection to the artifact having left an indelible mark on them. Naruto and Naruko stood together, their bond stronger than ever, despite the toll it had taken. They were ready to return to their world, knowing that their choices would have lasting repercussions. With a final glance at the parallel world they were leaving behind, they prepared for the journey home. The artifact's power enveloped them, and with a brilliant flash of light, they were transported back to their world. As the familiar landscape of their home world came into view, they knew that their experiences had transformed them in ways they were only beginning to understand. They had faced the ultimate test of sacrifice and commitment, and now, as they reunited with their friends and family, they carried with them the lessons and strength gained from their journey. The path forward would be shaped by their choices, but they were ready to face whatever came next with renewed resolve and understanding. Chapter 14, Farewells and Reflections. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over the landscape of the parallel world. The once grand citadel now lay in ruins, a somber reminder of the recent battles fought and won. Naruto and Naruko stood at the edge of the citadel's ruins, taking in the sight of their new allies and friends who had gathered for the farewells. The world around them was in a state of fragile peace, yet the heaviness of their impending departure cast a long shadow over their hearts. The last few days had been filled with preparations for their return, as well as moments of quiet reflection. The artifact's power had been stabilized, but its cost had been high. The siblings had managed to ensure that the parallel world could stand on its own, but now they faced the painful task of saying goodbye. Naruto watched as their allies, both old and new, made their way to the citadel's courtyard. Lady Celeste, Draven, Ian, and many others stood together, each with expressions of mixed emotions, relief, gratitude, and sorrow. Among them, Naruto noticed familiar faces from the parallel world, their alternate versions of Sasuke and Sakura, who had become more than mere echoes of their old friends. They had become comrades in a shared struggle, and their presence was a poignant reminder of the journey they had all endured. Naruko, her gaze distant, was engaged in a heartfelt conversation with her alternate self. The meeting had been an emotional one, and it was clear that both Naruko and her counterpart had grown from the experience. Their conversation was filled with promises of remembrance and hope for the future, as well as a shared understanding of the unique bond they now shared. As the final preparations were made, Naruto found himself walking alongside Ian. The ancient scholar had been a crucial ally in their fight and had provided invaluable wisdom throughout their journey. The two of them walked in silence for a while, taking in the scene around them. Ian finally spoke, his voice carrying a weight of both melancholy and pride. "You and your sister have done much for this world, Naruto. Your bravery and sacrifice have made a significant impact. It is not often that one finds themselves in a position to change the course of history." Naruto nodded, feeling the weight of Ian's words. "It's strange, you know? I thought this journey would be just another mission, but it turned into something much more. We've seen so many things, met so many people. It's hard to believe that it's all coming to an end." Ian placed a hand on Naruto's shoulder, offering a reassuring smile. "Every journey changes us. It shapes who we are and who we will become. Your actions have not only helped this world but have also forged a stronger bond between you and your sister. Remember that, and carry it with you." Naruto appreciated Ian's words, though the thought of leaving this world, and the friends he had made, was bittersweet. They reached the center of the courtyard, where Naruko was finishing her conversation. She looked up, her eyes meeting Naruto's, with a mixture of determination and sadness. "It's time," Naruko said softly, her voice carrying a note of finality. "We need to say our goodbyes and prepare for our departure." The ceremony that followed was a solemn yet hopeful occasion. Lady Celeste and Draven addressed the gathered crowd, offering thanks and praise for the courage and sacrifice of Naruto and Naruko. They spoke of a new era for the parallel world, one that would be marked by unity and growth, thanks to the efforts of the siblings. Naruto and Naruko took their places at the front of the crowd, their expressions reflecting the depth of their emotions. The faces before them were a tapestry of those they had fought alongside, each one now a cherished memory. Naruto took a deep breath and began to speak. "I want to thank all of you," he said, his voice steady despite the lump in his throat. "This world, your world, has taught us so much. We came here as strangers, but we're leaving with a greater understanding of what it means to fight for something greater than ourselves. We've seen the strength of your spirit, and we've learned from it." Naruko stepped forward, her voice clear and filled with sincerity. "We've faced challenges that we never imagined, but we've also found friends and allies in the most unexpected places. Our time here has changed us, and we'll carry the lessons we've learned with us. We hope that the bonds we've forged will continue to grow and strengthen, even after we've gone." The crowd's response was a mixture of applause and emotional farewells. Many came forward to offer their personal goodbyes, sharing stories and expressing their gratitude. Among those who came to say farewell were Sasuke and Sakura, their alternate selves offering heartfelt words of appreciation and respect. Sasuke, who had been stoic throughout most of their interactions, now showed a rare glimpse of vulnerability. "You've done more than just help us fight a battle. You've given us hope for a future we thought was lost. Thank you for everything." Sakura, her eyes glistening with tears, added, "We may have been from different worlds, but your courage and kindness have bridged that gap. We will remember you and your sister as symbols of hope and resilience." As the farewells drew to a close, the time to activate the artifact had arrived. The ceremony was held in the Citadel's central chamber, where the artifact now stood at the heart of a carefully prepared ritual. Lady Celeste, Draven, and Ian guided the process, their hands working in unison to ensure that the final activation would be successful. Naruto and Naruko stood together, their hands clasped as they prepared to undertake the final step. The artifact's core began to glow with a soft, pulsing light, and the energy surrounding them grew more intense. The siblings could feel the pull of the artifact's power, a sensation that seemed to resonate with every fiber of their being. As they completed the ritual, the artifact's energy surged, enveloping them in a brilliant light. The world around them seemed to dissolve, and they felt themselves being pulled through the fabric of space-time once more. The sensation was both exhilarating and disorienting, and they clung to each other for reassurance as they were transported through the dimensional rift. Moments later, the light began to fade, and the familiar sights and sounds of their own world began to reappear. Naruto and Naruko found themselves standing once again in their own world, at the very spot where their journey had begun. The artifact's power had transported them home, but they were forever changed by their experiences. The siblings took a moment to collect themselves, their emotions a complex mixture of relief, sadness, and reflection. They looked at each other, sharing a silent understanding of the journey they had undertaken and the impact it had made on their lives. As they began to make their way back to their village, the familiar landmarks and faces offered a comforting sense of normalcy. They were greeted by their friends and family, who had anxiously awaited their return. The reunion was filled with joy and relief, and the bonds of friendship and family were reaffirmed. Naruto and Naruko's return was met with a celebration, as their village honored their bravery and the sacrifices they had made. The siblings found solace in the familiar embrace of their loved ones, knowing that their journey had not been in vain. They had returned to their world with a deeper understanding of themselves and a renewed sense of purpose. The chapter of their journey in the parallel world closed, but the lessons they had learned and the friendships they had forged would remain with them forever. The experience had been transformative, shaping their future in ways they could not yet fully comprehend. As the sun set on their world, Naruto and Naruko walked side by side, their hearts filled with hope and gratitude. They knew that their journey was only one part of a larger story, and they were ready to face whatever came next with the strength and wisdom they had gained. The world was waiting, and they were ready to embrace it with open arms. Chapter 15, Back to the Beginning. The swirling vortex of colors and energy enveloped Naruto and Naruko as they stood within the heart of the artifact's energy field. The air was charged with a palpable sense of finality, and the once immense power of the artifact now crackled faintly, a mere echo of its former might. The decision had been made, they were going home. Naruto glanced at Naruko, her face illuminated by the shifting hues of the artifact's light. Both of them were exhausted, their bodies and minds worn from the battles and emotional toll they had endured. Yet, there was a quiet resolve in their eyes as they prepared to step into the unknown once more. "We're really doing this, huh?" Naruto said, his voice tinged with both determination and a hint of melancholy. Naruko nodded, her expression reflecting a mix of nostalgia and acceptance. "It's time. We've learned so much, and we've grown in ways we never imagined. But it's time to go back to where we belong." The vortex seemed to pulse in response to their words, as if acknowledging their resolve. With a final glance at the parallel world they had come to know, they stepped forward, and the world around them dissolved into a whirl of light. When Naruto and Naruko awoke, they were greeted by the familiar surroundings of their own world. The sun was shining brightly, and the air felt refreshingly crisp. They found themselves back at the edge of the Hidden Leaf Village, just outside the gates. The village was bustling with activity, its normalcy a stark contrast to the chaos they had left behind. The siblings exchanged a look of relief and disbelief. "We're home," Naruto said, his voice filled with awe. Naruko smiled, her eyes glistening with emotion. "It's really good to be back." As they walked towards the village, the familiar sights and sounds of their home brought a sense of comfort and belonging. The trees, the houses, and the lively chatter of villagers felt like a warm embrace after their long journey. Yet, beneath the surface, there was a sense of profound change within them, a result of their experiences in the parallel world. The village was buzzing with the news of their return. It didn't take long for their friends and family to notice their arrival. Sakura, Sasuke, and others who had been eagerly waiting for their return rushed towards them, their expressions a mixture of joy and concern. "Naruto! Naruko!" Sakura exclaimed, her voice breaking with emotion. She ran forward, hugging Naruko tightly. "You're back. We were so worried." Sasuke approached, his usually stoic expression softening as he saw Naruto. "It's good to see you both. We were afraid something terrible had happened." Naruto grinned, hugging Sakura and clapping Sasuke on the back. "We're okay. It was a wild ride, but we made it back." As they exchanged stories and caught up on what had happened in their absence, Naruto and Naruko couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed. They shared the tales of their adventures, the battles they had fought, and the friends they had made. Their friends listened with rapt attention, their eyes widening at the incredible experiences the siblings had endured. Later that evening, the village gathered for a celebration in honor of Naruto and Naruko's return. The festivities were filled with laughter, music, and a sense of collective relief. The villagers expressed their gratitude, and Naruto and Naruko were honored with heartfelt speeches and tokens of appreciation. During the celebration, Naruto and Naruko found a quiet spot near the edge of the village, overlooking the serene landscape. The moon hung low in the sky, casting a gentle glow over the village and the surrounding forest. It was a peaceful moment, one that allowed them to reflect on their journey. Naruto looked out at the village, his thoughts drifting back to the parallel world. "I can't believe it's all over. It feels like a dream." Naruko nodded, her gaze fixed on the distant horizon. "It does. But it's also a reminder of how far we've come and how much we've grown. We've seen so many things and met so many people. It's changed us." Naruto took a deep breath, feeling the weight of their experiences settle in his chest. "Yeah. We've seen a different side of the world and ourselves. And even though we're back, we're not the same people who left." Naruko smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft light of the moon. "We've learned so much, and we've become stronger. Our journey wasn't just about returning home, it was about discovering who we are and what we're capable of." As they stood there, enveloped in the tranquility of the night, Naruto and Naruko felt a deep sense of contentment. They had faced immense challenges and forged new paths, but ultimately, they had found their way back home. Their journey had come full circle, and they were ready to embrace the future with a renewed sense of purpose and understanding. The night sky was filled with stars, a vast expanse of possibilities stretching out before them. As they looked up, Naruto and Naruko knew that their adventures were far from over. They had returned to their world, but their hearts were forever marked by the experiences they had gained and the bonds they had forged. And so, as the village continued to celebrate their return, Naruto and Naruko stood together, ready to face whatever lay ahead with the strength and wisdom they had gained from their journey. They had come back to the beginning, but they were forever changed, ready to embrace the future with open hearts and unyielding resolve. The end to my story.